Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Fable II. I played it on the Xbox One, it's also available on the 360 and I believe PC. So having played Fable 1 recently, I decided to go back and replay Fable 2 as well, and I'll probably get around to Fable 3 eventually. So in Fable 2, you are once again a nameless protagonist who can play as a man or a woman, and Fable 2 takes place, I think like 600 years or something like that is what they said in the game, after Fable 1. You start out as a small child of whatever gender you chose, and you get invited to a castle in Bowerstone. Turns out the castle is run by the bad dude. He shoots your sister and shoots you out a window, but you survive and you come back on a quest for revenge. You are guided by Teresa, yes, Teresa from Fable 1, and she's still alive and apparently immortal or whatever, but she helps you find other heroes who can help you along your quest. There are a few twists and turns along the way, not too many, and Fable 2 definitely pulls a major fable with the ending just being a giant disappointment. Mostly from a gameplay standpoint, but the way the story wraps up could be better, quite frankly. Let's get into the audio. Once again, the voiceover work is well done, and it works for the game because while Fable 2 is less cartoony looking, it still has a much more cartoony and out there vibe. It's not an ultra serious, ultra realistic game. So the voiceover work works very well for it, and I like some of the celebrities who actually pop up throughout the game. I think that's pretty cool. I like the music here as well. I think it works for the game. There are some places where the music is supposed to be kind of not annoying or bothersome, but unnerving, and it works in those situations, and I liked that. Not unnerving in a scary way, but in a more psychological way, I would say. And as for the sound effects, once again, more cartoony games, so the sound effects are a little more cartoony, they're not super realistic, and they work for the game. As for the gameplay mechanics, oh my god, Fable 2 holds up so much better than Fable 1. I generally don't like to draw those comparisons, but doing one right after the other, wow. Just fucking wow, man. I really think what they should have done with the Fable Anniversary is take a lot of the mechanics from Fable 2 and just slap them in there and then release it. I once again was doing a good playthrough, and so the lock-on feature actually worked this time because there's a safety on it. If you want to play evil, you can turn off the safety so that you can attack civilians and all the people out on the roads and just anything you'd like. But if you're doing a good playthrough, you leave the safety on. It may lock on to citizens and civilians and whatnot after you've killed all the enemies, but you won't be able to damage them. And notice how I said after you've killed the enemies. That actually happens, whereas in the first game, you could kill one enemy, lock onto a civilian, despite the fact there's 5 other enemies out there trying to kill you. So having the lock-on feature, just huge improvement. Once again, the leveling works very similarly in that you get a general XP, XP for skill, magic, and strength. And once again, you don't really focus on one or the other, you really level them all at once, so having that breakdown has still always been kind of weird to me. The magic system in Fable 2, though, is very unique in that when you are using it in combat, you charge it up, and you have like 5 or 6 different levels, I can't remember exactly. You can assign different spells to the different level of charge, so you could have lightning on 1, fire on 2, time stop on 3. But the cool thing is, it will be time stop 3 at that level, or lightning 2 at that level. It'll be that strength rather than just you charged up to do a lightning attack. I thought that was a really unique way of doing things. I don't necessarily know if I love it or hate it, but I do think it's unique and fairly cool. The world of Fable 2 is massive compared to the previous game. I really like that they made it a much larger world. Bowerstone is bigger, the area around it is bigger, and you get to really explore, and one of the big advantages is that you have a dog. It was supposed to be a big selling point at the time because, you know, Peter Molyneux was batshit insane. But the dog is actually really beneficial in the gameplay because he can sniff out treasure or items, dig spots, etc. He'll start barking when enemies are around. He works fairly well. There are definitely times where you're running and he's running and then he just stops for no reason despite the fact he should be guiding you someplace. But overall, the dog system works well, and I actually like it. I think it's a good addition to the game, especially when they made the world so much bigger. And I briefly mentioned in the story part how the ending is a disappointment more from a gameplay standpoint. And it really is because, no spoilers about what happens exactly, but there's not even a boss fight. This was like Mass Effect 3's ending before Mass Effect 3, basically. As for the controls, I think the controls are far superior. I will say the movement is still not amazing. There are definitely times where you get hung up on things that you really shouldn't get hung up on, and you have to, finagle the joystick to get out. And that obviously is annoying, but overall, the controls are better. I will say though, I felt like they were less responsive. There were definitely times where I was hitting the attack button and my character would not attack, or I was hitting the magic button and my character would not do the magic. So not as responsive, better mapped out, and overall more functional than Fable 1, but again, not as responsive for some reason. As for the graphics and visuals, the game definitely shifted. In Fable 1, it's a very cartoony looking game, whereas in Fable 2, it's somewhere between realism and cartoony, but still cartoony enough that the weird and wacky ideas work. And the really unique personality of the game works very well with the art style. Because while it's more realistic, it's still not ultra realistic by any stretch of the imagination. And I think the graphics hold up better. There are definitely some things that show their age. A lot of the plant life, man, it looks like shit by modern standards. But overall, I think the world they built and the style they use, it has held up very well, even graphically. It's not going to be the prettiest game, but even when it came out, it wasn't the prettiest game. But with all the different effects, the different designs, the costumes, the characters, the monsters, the weapons, all of that, they really fit with the world and they help build their own unique world. So to wrap this up, I will say that Fable 2 is technically a far superior game to Fable 1 from the mechanics and the control setup and all of that. But storytelling, man, it falls pretty flat. I don't think the story they told was as good. I also felt like it was lacking as many side missions and so on as the original Fable, but I'm not going to say it's bad, and in a lot of ways, I think it is far superior to the first Fable. I'm actually going to recommend it. I think it's a fun game to go back and play, and you don't necessarily need to have played the original Fable to do so. So yeah, I recommend playing it. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what is your favorite spell in Fable? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one. I played it on the Xbox One. It's also available on the fucking shit ass. That's what it's available on.